In this video, I'm going to be discussing basically sense and reference having to do with the work of Frege, having to do with the sense and reference of names, sentences, and predicates, and how that whole thing all works. And I did do a video on Frege's writing sense and reference, and that's in my philosophy of language playlist. But I kind of want to discuss some more philosophy of language of Frege. So one book I think is really nice is this one, Philosophy of Language on Introduction by Chris Daly. The first few chapters are of Frege and having to do with Frege. Also touching on maybe on some other, on a couple of other certain philosophies of language. People like J.L. Austin or William Alston. Austin and Alston. And then it does, in here it does talk about Russell and Grice and Donald Davidson and stuff like that. So, basically, sense and reference is Frege's way of looking at meaning, and how meaning is a twofold notion. It's not just that you know, a sentence has one meaning, and it has one meaning. Anything you say does have one meaning. It does have one meaning, but meaning is a twofold notion. And you know how there was there's the problem of you know, you hear about the morning star and the evening star. You know, you have puzzles that have to do with that, and have to do with the puzzle about meaning. How the morning star and the evening star are both Venus. However, they're basically the same planetary body, but obviously the morning star appears in the morning, and obviously the evening star appears in the evening. But so they basically refer to the same thing. They both refer to the same planetary body. So does morning star and evening star have the same meaning? In one way, yeah, it does. In another way, it does not, because morning star and evening star do not mean the same thing. So if you want to go more in depth into those puzzles and that writing by itself by Frege, you can go to that video. But basically, you know how morning star and evening star both refer to the same thing. Reference is only one notion having to do with meaning. So there's two things that have to do with meaning. There's sense and there is reference. Reference is what the name, sentence, or predicate refers to. Morning star and evening star both refer to the same thing. However, they have different senses. The sense is what is grasped by a certain person, given a certain name, sentence, or predicate. So, you know, and it's also similar to how Mark Twain and Samuel Clemens refer to the same person, but they have different senses, because there's there's a difference in meaning between his pen name and his actual birth given name. So I guess in this video I want to discuss what a name, sentences, and predicates are, kind of say a little bit about his compositionality thesis, and discuss how sense and reference both apply to names, predicates, and sentences. A name refers to something. A name picks something out. And there's a difference between a name and a proper name. A name, just a regular name, doesn't necessarily pick out one certain thing. It can pick out a multitude of things. But a name picks out something. or some things. However, if we're talking about a proper name is something that picks out one distinct individual or thing. And now we're not talking about perceptual or even concrete things. We could talk about, anything really. It could be instance of time, or it could be anything. It doesn't have to be something that is just concrete. It doesn't have to be a concrete perceptual thing. So, like the name Dragan Davic refers to one person. It refers to one distinct thing. Proper names are they're easier. They are definite in meaning. They because it refers to one distinct thing. Same as how 6 divided by 3 refers to one certain thing, i.e. 2. Or the square root of 4 refers to one certain thing, i.e. 2. The sense of a name is what is grasped by one understanding it. The sense of a name determines the reference of a name. So in any case, whether we're talking about a name or a sentence or a predicate, the sense, the name, predicate, or sentence expresses a sense, and sense determines the reference. The sense of a name is a certain mode of presentation. That, like the names A and the name B differ in sense. A is F and B is F differ in cognitive value or sense. Sense can also be looked at as cognitive value. How morning star and evening star have differing cognitive value. Sense of a name contributes to the truth conditions in a sentence. So sense does have a role in the truth value. Names express sense, and sense determines reference. And just a note here: this isn't having to do with any kind of mental entities. Frege was, avidly against psychologism, which is saying that meanings are in here. He doesn't think that meanings are. Meanings have nothing to do with this at all. Meanings are not mental. According to Frege, meanings are abstract, objective things. Senses are communicable, and they are abstract. Any one name has a given sense and a given reference. So if whatever you say, there is a distinct meaning. There's a distinct sense and a distinct reference given anything you say. And there's a definite one too. However, there is an exception called indirect sense and indirect reference, which does cause some problems for his abstract meaning theory. But, predication or predicates. Sentences have, as you learn in English class, they have a subject and they have a predicate. Subjects usually have to do with names. The subject usually is a name or a proper name. So putting names and predicates together makes sentences. So a predicate is like Alpha is a philosopher, saying X is a philosopher, or X is green, or X this or X that. It's kind of having to do with the concept. Predicates also express senses which determines reference. And this also has to do with functions too. How, let's say we have the function X is a philosopher. Whatever name or thing that we plug into that function, there's a truth value that corresponds to that. Same with the whole thing. X is a philosopher. You could put in Plato, we'd have a truth value of T, and if we put in John Wayne, we would have a truth value of F, because John Wayne was not a philosopher. So now we have the problem of the concept horse, where, and I have a video about that too, where of his article where he does discuss this paradox of the concept horse, how a a name or a subject or a concrete thing can overlap with a concept or a predicate. How you say the concept horse is a concept, while the horse can refer to an actual object. Horse. A horse can be a name. It can refer to an actual horse. While at the same time it can be a concept. So, and I also have a video where I go more depth into that as well. Predicates can be at the same time a referring expression, while they typically, well, predicates do refer, but it's possible for a predicate to do both of those things at the same time. So we also have the issue: do predicates only refer to incomplete entity, because X is a horse is a incomplete entity, or it is a incomplete expression. Sentences also have sense and references. A sentence is built up of names and predicates, like I said, and the meaning of a sentence is based upon the sense of a sentence is determined by its component expressions. So the sense and references of the names and predicates that make up any given expression come together to make the sense and reference of a sentence. So a sentence, this is the whole compositionality thing. How a sentence's meaning or a sentence's sense and reference have to do with the sense and references of the names and the predicates that make the whole thing up. Reference to a sentence is determined by reference to the component expression as well. Sentences express thoughts. So this is mostly solid, but there are problems with Frege's whole thing because of indirect sense and indirect reference, which have to do with propositional attitudes and stuff like that, which can have which might cause problems for this whole compositionality thing. So I'm going to talk more about the whole indirect sense and reference in a different video, and the whole compositionality thing in a different video. But if you have any questions, or if you think I messed something out, comment below, let me know. Thank you.